Good afternoon. Welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show and our usual World Cup Daily show looking at yesterday's action and looking ahead to tonight's games. I'm Chris Bell, delighted to say I'm joined by Jayson Boocker. How are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, very well, mate. Still in, World Cup fever. Enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone full England fever with the 90s shirt on. So, I'm getting up for it tonight. It's going to be, I think, an interesting evening as we will discuss a little bit later on. We start, though, as we have been doing every day, by looking back at the results from yesterday. So, in particular, yesterday was a really good group because everything was in perfect order. Group I's games, one after the other. And it ended like that. France 3, Senegal 1, and Iraq 1, Norway 4. Let's start with that France-Senegal game because a bit of a game of two halves, to use the old cliche, because we all thought, certainly in our group chat, that Senegal could have been, and probably should have been, ahead at the break, and they ended up paying the price for not being so.
I mean, they could have easily been 2-0 up, couldn't they? Not just one. I mean, how Sarr misses that second chance. I mean, it's a tap-in, isn't it? It literally is a sitter. It's as easy a chance as you're ever going to get in a World Cup match. And they have to take it. Shearer nailed it, didn't he? He said, they could live to regret that. And they did, France came out a completely different team second half, which they will do, They've got a great coach, they've got a great team, and they were never going to play that badly in both halves. Now, goals change games, they score that, and, who knows what can happen from a Senegal perspective, but they were good first half, and France were awful. And we've seen a little bit of that throughout the whole World Cup, I think. We've seen like mixtures of halves. I know we were speaking about Uruguay the other day. They were awful first half, came out second half, were much better. We've seen it. There were another game where I was thinking that was particularly poignant the other night, and it seems to kind of follow the bigger teams and the lower nations. They're starting the game well, but then eventually the quality will
come
catch
through.
them. And and I think also the levels of fitness as well. I mean, the one game where obviously it didn't happen, I know that you'll have already covered it, would have been the Cape Verde game, and they were unbelievable to be able to keep them levels up for that amount of time. That's not going to be the case for most nations, So, France were just too good second half.
The penalty, or shall I say, not a penalty decision. All through this World Cup, and this is so unlike you, you've been banging on about how good the officiating is. Usually, you're our resident pessimist when it comes to all things referees and officiating. Certainly a strange one, it's fair to say, that one. Everybody absolutely nailed on. Everyone in the group chats, everyone on social media, penalty, Stonewall. And it looks like he points to the spots, only for it to then be saying, no, he's initiate contact.
It's a bizarre one. It's a real bizarre one. I mean, I have really waxed lyrical about the officiating during this competition. I'm still going to do that because I think the overall feeling is they're letting the game run. They're not taking any BS. They are really calling out any sort of... And how quickly do you see the players jump back up?
Yeah.
They're realising that they've been caught out and jumping straight back up because they're understanding that the team's in at a disadvantage. They've tried to... Well, they're cheating. They tried to cheat a free kick and they're not getting it. I think it's the new rules have been excellent. The amount of rolling around that we've seen has diminished so much because if they take any medical attention that isn't resulting in a yellow card, they're asked to come off the pitch and their team is then all of a sudden compromised. Yeah, for a minute, it's a long time. I mean, Moises Caicedo were going ballistic in the Ecuador game a couple of days ago. But he was playing that and he received some treatment. He had to come off. So I love it because I think we are so weak in this country. The officiating is so pathetic, and it's been shown as being more pathetic throughout this competition. All that being said, I was waxing lyrical in the group chat, and then this decision happened about 2 minutes after it, and it's a stinker. Like I can't. It gets called to the screen to watch it again. To kind of get him out of the mistake he's made. That's what VAR's for. Fine, we're all human, we can make mistakes. To then not be able to get to the right decision after seeing that.
Yeah, I can only assume that when he looked back at the screen that he's seen. I mean, I know that we see generally what they see, but he could only have thought that he's seen something whether it's a touch on the ball, like whether it's a stud at worst. But nobody else on the planet saw that. Lo and behold, it kind of probably helped really actually to. Whilst France had been on top up to that point anyway, that little bit of injustice possibly is what then fired them up, because you were talking matter of 3-4 minutes later that they actually went ahead.
It pushed them on, didn't it? Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, it kind of felt like he wanted to stick with his own decision. He didn't want to kind of be corrected. Now, that's obviously wrong, but I would much prefer that than a referee that can't stand on the conviction of his feelings and his decision, than some of the BS again that we see in the Premier League, where we're all saying hopefully he stands on with the decision. VAR shouldn't have called him over for this, and he gives it up anyway. So I actually respect the referee more, even though I think the decision was wrong, for kind of standing on with it. Yeah, for backing himself with it. He thinks he's seen something. He then watches the video and thinks that he must see. He still sees it in slow-mo. I mean, the maybe is the finest of touches. And I'm talking like a brush. It's still a foul regardless. Yeah. But I can maybe see what he's seeing. Not that it's the right decision, but like I said, I respect it nonetheless. I want to see a referee with nuts, and that's what we've got. So
a lot of these foreign referees do, to be fair to them, seem to have rather large cojones when it comes to making those calls. Just before we move on, don't forget you can get in touch with us. Let us know your thoughts and comments. You can follow us on social media as well, like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Our very own Brownie's been in touch. Afternoon, lads, hoping for a good start for the 3 Lions tonight. You and me both, mate. You and me both.
How young is Brownie in that picture, by the way? Look, he must be like 18.
Yeah, there's no age in there, is there? No age at all. Just before we move on to the next game, just want to touch on the fact that the latter stage of the France-Senegal game, we thought for a brief moment when Mbaye pulls one back for Senegal that we might get a grandstand finish, but no, that was soon killed off. Any brief hopes of a comeback for Senegal or a bit more drama just died with that third goal for France and the second goal for Mbappe.
Yeah, I mean, Senegal will be kicking themselves. They really, really will be kicking themselves. Because they had the Nicholas Jackson chance that hit the post. I thought he was brilliant, by the way. I thought, without scoring, I thought he was excellent. Then the Star miss, obviously. And then they go and get a foothold back in the game. And there's 4 minutes to play at that point as well, plus whatever added to the added time because of the goals and stuff. And they go and concede pretty much from kickoff. I thought both Mendy and I can't think of it. The French goalkeeper. I can't think of it.
Magnon.
I thought they both had really good games, but then made massive errors at the same time. I thought the Mbappe second goal was, even though it looks great, I think he should save it.
Isn't that Edouard Mendy full stop? We saw that in his Chelsea days, that he could be a top keeper on his day, but then also complete brain farts left, right, and centre.
Very true. Very, very true.
Let's move on then to the second game in this group, Iraq versus Norway. I don't necessarily feel like Norway are coming out with perhaps the praise that a 4-1 scoreline would suggest they deserve. Iraq, to their credit, though, put up a hell of a fight and really did try and take the game to the Norwegians.
It did flatten Norway slightly, which is probably why they're not getting the praise, plus probably the reputation and the rankings of Iraq, I would guess. But Iraq was solid. Iraq approached it very differently to what some of the lower nations have done. They actually went at Norway as much as they possibly could within their reason. I thought they were all right.
We said this yesterday. We were like, are they going to take a Curacao approach, or are they going to take a Cape Verde approach and just sit and defend? And actually, they were more like Curacao, but better at it.
Yeah, and I mean, Norway were just clinical is probably the best way of kind of putting it. You know, when you've got the best player he's certainly in his position, one of the best players in the world in Erling Haaland, certainly the best goal scorer in the world. I mean, the guy's a freak. He's now scored 57 goals in 51 internationals. I mean,
Mad,
And
isn't
he's playing in Europe, mate. I mean, like people will say, oh, yeah, but look at some of the teams he scored against. Yeah, but he's scoring against the same teams that Harry Kane and Kylian Mbappe are scored against. And he's doing it for Norway. He's not doing it for England, Brazil, France. The numbers are ridiculous. And he turns up at a World Cup and scores 2 off the pop. I mean, all 3 of them, and when I say 3 of them, I'm talking about the big superstars, Mbappe, Haaland, and obviously we'll touch on Messi. They all started their World Cups off in unbelievable form. I mean, the numbers that Muller and Klose and whatnot have got to over the years, they're gonna be absolutely eclipsed.
Part of me that is pretty gutty at that though. Like I love the fact Miroslav Klose. You don't get strikers like Miroslav Klose anymore, and I love the fact that he was that leading World Cup scorer, and it's gone.
Yeah.
Bang,
no, I get it. I thought the same about Giroud when Giroud were in the studio and he were kind of congratulating Mbappe on breaking the record for, I think it's French World Cup goal.
Through gritted teeth.
Yeah. I kind of felt the same way, but it's different, innit? We're now playing against more nations. They play more games. Like, there's all sorts of different reasons. So, but yeah, I thought, I mean, Norway have been my dark horse. I think they'll go a long way. I think they could easily get to the quarters, maybe even the semis. They looked decent while still being a little bit susceptible defensively. They were a little bit more susceptible defensively than I thought they were going to be. But they were fun to watch, and I just love watching Northern Ireland.
I was about to say it's certainly that little bit of susceptibility at the back does make them more entertaining to watch. On the whole, they end up in better games, I think, than some of the other big sides who just control it for 90 minutes and make it, dare I say, a little bit dull. Yeah,
no, you're right. There were a big moment though, kind of won't get spoken about, but Ajer puts a block in on El Amadi. I think it's at 1-1. It's early. It's in the first half. And he makes an unbelievable tackle that takes it out for a corner. He's through on goal. If that goes in, again, it's a different game. So, I like them. I think they've got quality all over. I think Ødegaard needs to step up. Commentary kind of kept on pushing that narrative, but I agree with them that he needs to step up and really kind of own that team. He should be running everything. It kind of felt like everything ran through Sander Berge to Haaland and the winger Nusa.
Very good. Yeah. We'll move on to the next group J. These were the games that were in the early hours of this morning, so I'm not going to lie, I didn't see either of them, but I have saw the extended highlights earlier on. A hat trick for a certain Lionel Messi, but actually, when you look at the game on the whole, Algeria were quite in the game. It looked like. Yeah,
I'm the same. I didn't stay up and watch either of them. you've got to cut it off somewhere, haven't you? And it tends to be the 11 o'clock game for me. That sometimes finishes at 12:30, 1:15. I can manage that, and then I need to go to bed. I mean, to wake up this morning, see 3-0, and you think, oh, right, okay, and then you click into it and you have a look at Lionel Messi hat-trick at 38-year-old, and you're just like, it's not fair, really, that I'm walking around at 36-year-old with aches and pains and bumps and bruises and nowhere near as much money in the bank as Lionel, and he's still walking around as one of the best players in the world scoring hat-tricks at World Cups. It's just a bit unfair, really. But it was scintillating, and he scores one that's offside before he scores any of his goals. Algeria also do exactly the same. It's basically a carbon copy on the other side, and they're both offside.
Bloody close. That the Algeria one in particular, I thought was exceptionally close.
It was. They played some good stuff from what I saw from the highlights, and I think Algeria they'll still probably end up as one of the top 3 in this group, and hopefully them go through. I think they're a good side. The game between them and Austria is going to be huge, to where because they're now on the back foot that they've got catching up to do. So they kind of have to win that game, really. But we'll come at that. Messi deserves all the plaudits. He was still dictating the play. The first goal, I think, is a massive goalkeeping error. Even though it's a nice finish, but the turn that Messi takes on it, the ping into him, and the way that he turns out, and I think he just catches the keeper off. It's going from left to right, and
he gets half an hand on it, doesn't he? But just not enough.
Yeah, but. What do you say about him, mate? I mean, I know we've had back and forward in the group as to Messi, Ronaldo, this debate and all that. It don't matter. We've been blessed to be kind of given both of them, and no matter who you think is best, you can't you can't debate the fact that they are some of the best players of all time. And to watch Messi still being able to do this in a World Cup at 38 is just unreal.
I still prefer the Algeria goalkeeper's dad. Of course, it was Lucas Zidane in net for Algeria, to be fair. So, strange of fate. As for the second game, it was the very late one, the 5 o'clock kickoff this morning, Austria versus Jordan. Weirdly, I woke up at about 10 to 7 and managed to catch the last 10 minutes or so of it on iPlayer in bed. Again, unconvincing by all accounts from Austria, it seems, but enough to get the job done and get them off to the start they would have wanted in this group.
Yeah, again, I've seen the highlights of that. I think Jordan kind of followed suit with some of the other lower ranked nations in that for a period of time they were able to compete in the game, and then the better team kind of took over later on and scored the goals that they needed to win the game. We've seen it a few times already in the competition. Austria have got some good players. They've got some quality.
Yeah.
I think somebody made the point in our preview about the fact that Mirko and Arnautovic was still going to be kind of leading the line, and that's a bit of a concern. I get that. I mean, I don't know how old he is now, but he seems to have been around forever.
Came off the bench yesterday, but yeah, he's what? Still getting on a bit now, isn't he?
Yeah, it just seems like my whole life I've known of Mirko Arnautovic. He's just always there. And he's had like reincarnations of him as well. Like he plays out wide, then he plays as a forward, then he's at a low team, then he's at a high team, then he's in trouble because of his attitude, then he's a baller. And it's just a real kind of paradox. He's a
bit of a maverick, and you don't have many of those in the game nowadays.
Yeah, he's a maverick. But yeah, they were good. I thought Austria's first goal were quality and laid back to the edge of the area and whipped into the top corner. But yeah, I think they'll be solid, mate. I think Austria will be whoever comes across them. At some point they will probably go out, obviously in the knockout stages. But whoever comes across them is not going to get an easy game. That's what it feels like with Austria. So
yeah, absolutely. We'll move on because I know you're a little bit pushed for time. We'll come to tonight's games then. We got, to be fair, probably the first two games tonight are probably the best two games looking at it on paper. One from K, one from L. Of course, we start at 6 o'clock. Portugal versus the mighty Congo DR, or the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Your second nation.
There is backstory to that. We recorded something, never went out, and I was all about Congo.
There is. They've got a good side. A lot of people will be looking at that game tonight and be like, "Oh, that's a banker for Portugal," and I could look like a mug in a few hours' time, but I don't think it'll be anything like that. Portugal have got a good side. I didn't realise just how good they were under Martinez, because I don't rate Martinez at all, but they've got record stats for win percentages under Roberto Martinez.
Yeah, wins, man. You on Martinez.
Yeah, I think he's an absolute fraud. But they have got a good side. But I don't think they're as strong as they have been. Obviously, the version of Ronaldo that they're now finding with, could he actually be considered more of a hindrance than a help? I think there is a world in which that exists at times, given what he's now capable of doing in comparison to previous. This could be a real banana skin because Congo are a good side. They've got some good players in that team that people will be expecting an easy win for Portugal there, and I don't see it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I was just quickly going to try and get up that Congo squad just to kind of rattle through some of the names because, as you say, it is far more stacked than you would necessarily associate. Certainly, going in across the board to start with. Really, you look at the back. There's some solid experience in there. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, of course, is now defected to DR Congo. Axel Duansebe from the Premier League. Chancellor Mbemba. There's the players there that are, to your general Premier League fan at least, will be known players. Quite a lot of them.
Noah Siddiqui from Sunderland. Obviously had a really, really good season. And they've got Johan Wissa from Newcastle. Obviously not had a great season, but been very good at Brentford. Chancellor Mpemba, who used to be at Newcastle, played in Europe a lot. Bakambu's getting on a little bit now, but he's still... Yeah.
He's compared to his Newcastle days.
Definitely. Masuaku, who used to be at West Ham, left back. I think there'll be a problem. And what I always find with the African side is they're always athletic, they're always strong. They just apply themselves in a certain way. It's similar to what we were saying about Japan and South Korea a couple of weeks ago. There's just something about the way that their culture that you'd never see. Congo struggling with what France did a few years ago, where they completely self-imploded. Their attitude is just at it, I think, like I say, I think there'll be a challenge for Portugal tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go on to in a second. Just bringing up Lou's comment. Big boys stepping up on the big stage yesterday. Time for our boys to do the same tonight. Even if it isn't perfect, it doesn't mean I'm going to remind Lou of that about 11 o'clock tonight, if it's not gone well or if it's not gone perfect, that we don't need to have a meltdown. We don't need the negativity, Lou. It's all positivity, for England. Also, quick hello as well to Joe, who joined again. He's joined us a couple of times.
Nice picture.
I'm not him in the profile picture. I'm fairly certain it is fair to say. But thanks for tuning in again. England, Croatia, we get underway. I've put together what I suspect Tuchel will go with, and then I'll be honest, when we just changed just when we started, I've changed it a couple of times since, actually. You certainly, for one, think that Rodgers may get the nod ahead of Bellingham, and I suspect, judging by the reports actually of late, that Gordon might get the nod ahead of Rashford.
Yeah, I don't think you can really argue with the rest of it. I think it kind of picks itself. You could maybe have a debate about Stones and
Stones and Konsa seems to be a story at the moment as well.
I think if Stones is fit and is where he needs to be to play a World Cup game, he plays, because I think his level's above Konsa. I'm not a big Konsa fan personally. I think he's a good Premier League centre back. I don't think he's a top class international centre back. There's a big difference. When you look at some of the top centre backs that are at this competition, is he in that catalogue of players? He's not. No. He's not for me. Whereas John Stones at his best is. He's a top player as John Stones. We forget because we've had him for so long and he's had injuries, but I really rate him. I think, like I said, the rest picks itself. I think Bellingham picks himself, but for whatever reason, Tommy Tuchel has kind of taken a bit of a disliking to him, or don't like what he brings to the side, or injuries that maybe this season have affected his play. I don't know. There just seems to be a bit of an agenda there with Bellingham. For me, he's one of the first names on the team sheet after Harry Kane. So, and on the left, I'm not really that bothered. I think Rashford or Gordon both give us what they give us individually, and the other one coming off the bench is a good change. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm not bothered. You can go either way for me.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. The only other one as well is Saka, because of his fitness, as well as to whether he would start. Again, I suspect if he's fit enough to, I think he will. He'll start him over Madueke. The other option, I guess, could be, but I don't think he would. It would be to swap Gordon over to the right and keep Rashford on the left and go that way. But I just can't see him mixing it up like that when it comes to the crunch game. I mean, obviously,
it'll be Madueke if Saka's not fit.
When it kind of comes to Croatia, obviously we know their experience, we know their capabilities in years gone by, but obviously they are an aging side compared to what they were, obviously 4 and 8 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, they've been a bit of a nemesis for us, haven't they?
Yeah. Ever since that 2018 semi-final.
Yeah, we've beaten them as well as lost to them. We've had big games against them, so it's a bit back and forward.
They stopped us qualifying for Euro 2008 as well.
They did, yeah. The Wally and the Brolly, that one, wasn't it? I believe. For the size of nation that they are, they have overachieved massively for so long. I would even say, as far back as I can remember, in 1998, they finished in third in 98, I believe.
Yeah, they have. I think you're right.
They almost certainly got to the semi-final. I'm sure they played in the third place game in 1998. Davasuka up front and all that. And they always seem to generate these kind of players that certainly do. They do it at the top stage, your Luka Modric, your Mandzukic, but then they also have this kind of other core of players the international scene. They just turn up and become different players. Like Kramaric has had a good career throughout his club career, but at an international scene, he just seems to step it up again. He plays a different level. So
Perisic as well, another.
Yeah, Perisic, Kranjčar over the years previously. Lovro Mayer, who was a bit of a wonder kid, but never really has reached the heights for club, turns up at international and he's always brilliant. So it's going to be a challenge, mate. I don't know. I suspect that we'll have too much for this version of Croatia, but it's still going to be a challenge. It's a tough game, 100%.
What would you go for score prediction wise on this one?
2-0.
Oh, see, I was thinking 2-1, but I also wouldn't be too downhearted if it was a 1-1 draw. That's all I'm saying. We don't need the negativity. That's for you, Lou. No negativity. It is what it is. We move on. Look, this blind optimism and positivity served me beautifully 2 years ago in the Euros when everybody else was losing their heads. I was like, we were winning games. We were winning them poorly, but I was like, we're winning games. That's all that matters.
I've got very little expectation when it comes to this tournament, if I'm honest. I don't feel like we're really in the. I know we are, and I know a lot of other nations will be putting us as favourites, but it don't feel like that to me. So I'm all right with whatever happens because I'm expecting so little. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that does make sense. Let's round off then with the final couple of games that are in the early hours of the morning. The other game in our group, Ghana versus Panama, is the midnight game, and then Uzbekistan versus Colombia. Uzbekistan making their debut in the game that kicks off at 3 a.m. Let's start with the other game in our group then, Ghana and Panama. You would expect, again, you look at the Ghana side that's travelled to the USA, and again, it's another one of those solid, strong African squads. Up against the Panama side, who, of course, to be fair to them, aren't strangers at qualifying for World Cups, but are rarely a side that picks out a plucky result.
Yeah, I mean, well, Panama were the whipping boys last time, weren't they? We stuck, I think it's 6-2 that game finished in the end. I think it was.
It's 1 in 2018
or something. 2018, well. Yeah. They've got experience in it. They aren't going to be having them nerves around, making the debut or anything like that. It could be a banana skin, but I don't see it. It'd be nice if it was, because it'd take a lot of pressure off us in needing to then get a 3 points maybe against Ghana becomes less imperative. A draw might be enough there, especially if we win tonight. So, these groups are over so quickly. You've not got much room for error. So once you've lost one game, you're in trouble. You know what I mean? So it does become imperative. So if we can get a bit of a sway back the other way, because you would expect that we'd have too much for Panama. But yeah, I see a Ghana win there. And then Uzbekistan and Colombia. I mean, Colombia are going to be strong. And we kind of, maybe not as strong as once upon a time, but they're still going to be strong in that game. Uzbekistan, to be honest with you, I'm not too affair with many of their top players. I know obviously Kujanov at Manchester City is probably, I'm guessing he's probably going to be their main man. I think
him and the striker that was on Roma's books at one point, and I think Leeds had Uzbekistan forward at one point, a good few years ago, admittedly. But there was a Roma at one point, Shmolderov, something along those lines.
Yeah. We the striker that we had was Tudmarov, I think. I can't remember exactly how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
But funnily enough, he ended up signing at Lincoln Imps
in Gibraltar.
Maybe last year, something like that. So yeah. But he had a nickname. That he went by at Leeds. I can't remember because to kind of shorten it down. But anyway, let's digress. Interesting games, but they should really be two bankers for Ghana and Colombia, shouldn't they? Let's be fair.
Yeah, you would certainly expect so. I'd be surprised if it was anything different. That is fair to say. Quick glance ahead then, just to have a look ahead. I mean, obviously, after tonight's games, tomorrow you end up picking up back to Group A. It feels like, and that's because it has. This World Cup feels like it's been a long time before we get to our game because of the fact, obviously, we're in one of the Arsene groups in Group K. But obviously, we're back to square one, so we're back to the start with Group A and a couple of really tasty-looking games in a group that was all draws in the first case of Switzerland, Bosnia, and Canada, Qatar.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it so far. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I have too.
I think the atmospheres have been good. I think the standard overall has been good. I think where the standard hasn't been good, it's then created entertainment, which is kind of why you enjoy. Yeah, it's kind of why you enjoy watching low card boxing as opposed to the world title fights, because you get more entertainment in them. So it's kind of how I feel about some of these games. I've just taken them for what they are. I do think there's been lulls in the games, likely in some of them because of the heat and the conditions that they're playing in. I know you guys have been making like mad problems about these water breaks. I don't get it, if I'm honest. A water break happens and it gives me opportunity to go for a pee or like have a minute.
Look, I'm not saying there's not beneficial for us as the viewers, but to the games, there's just been a ridiculous amount of games so far in the first like match day of the groups, where games have turned after that kind of stoppage. I mean, like, I know people have been using the Curacao one, and yes, it's very unlikely Curacao would have made that momentum they had count really to get a second, but ultimately it could have done, is the thing. They were the side on top, and there was a couple of other games as well where sides on top have suddenly been killed and the game has spun completely the other way, where lesser sides have been on top, and it's worked against them almost, because 3 minutes is a long time, and it is, as Lou's been banging on about, it does fundamentally come down to the fact that it's for advertising. In fact, Gaz has been telling us on the last couple of shows that we've had Gaz with us, that back in '94, they wanted to make the game into quarters to put a break in. And at that point, FIFA pushed back and said no. But obviously they haven't in this case. They've gone with it. And the fact that there was one game where you could visibly see a TV producer telling the referee when he could restart play after a water break the other day, it's a bit depressing.
I get it. But, you know, and whether it's for advertising, the actual reason of hydration, we're trying to keep the standards of the game to be at the best as what they can be. This impacts that and it helps. The biggest thing for me is they've put the rules in place to make sure that these breakages in play have stopped happening, and I think it's been really good. If these didn't exist, I think that they would just see goalkeepers going down all the time. I really do. So for me, it wound me up when it was actually in the middle of proper intense pressure and it was then them cheating. At least they know halfway through the half this is going to happen and both teams get it.
Yeah, like, I get it. I'm on board with that as well. It's just too long. 3 minutes is just not necessary.
I can get that.
I'm not a usual fan of Stephen Warnock when it comes to his punditry, but I think he made a really fair point on maybe one of last night's game or nights before
about the other side of the pitch.
Put it the other side of the pitch. Get the drinks out ready. Opposite sides of the dugouts. 45 seconds maximum. Get on with the game. I think it's the right idea, but the problem is that's not going to happen. The problem is we're going to be stuck with this now for the duration of this World Cup anyway, because they're not going to be able to get out of these TV contracts with the advertising and stuff now to change anything anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't remember really seeing that much advertising, or maybe I've just not paid attention. The only thing that I see is that they bring the QR code up for you on BBC to go and scan to have a look at the stats and stuff. I don't know. You're right. 3 minutes is too long. Three minutes is too long. It should be a minute, and then and that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't need to be anywhere near as long. One quick final comment from Michael. Thanks for joining us again, Michael. He says, right, the final itself with a halftime break of half an hour to put on a halftime show as they do for the Super Bowl. I don't necessarily feel like this is the first time they've done that, though, weirdly.
Well, I can't see that.
I'm hoping not, but again, nothing would surprise me. That's all I'm saying. We'll end it on that, Jay. I think you're going to come back on with me tomorrow when we'll look back at tonight's game and then look ahead to the games that we'll have coming up tomorrow evening in a bit more detail. We're ready up there, though. Thanks for joining us.
I get to review England. Oh, I'll take that.
You do. You do. Aren't you fortunate, hopefully?
Yeah,
Let's hope it's a good one. Come on, you three Lions. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.